The conference brought together different tourism ministers from the continent to discuss the state of tourism in the continent and how to grow this sector. CS Najib Balala, the chairman of the union, during his address stated that as much as tourism is important to the continent, Africa is not yet making use of the economic opportunities the sector presents.
What we get in Africa is only 68 million. In 2030, the estimation by UNWTO is 134 million. Currently, people employed in tourism is 21 million in Africa. Our target is to achieve by 2030, we have 100 million people employed in the continent of Africa.
The CS, however, attributed this to the negative publicity that the continent has been receiving from the Western media. This is, in the long run, has costed the continent a fortune as tourists opt to go elsewhere.
The problem we have is that the continent of Africa has been branded and tagged to be a continent that is the image of Ebola, the image of chaos, the image of diseases, and the image which we don't deserve, all negative images. What are we doing ourselves as nations of Africa to change that image to a better image? I believe the continent of Africa is where the future is. The continent of Africa has a diverse product that we are proud of, from beaches to mountains to deserts to culture, to safaris, to wildlife. Everything you can count in the world is available in Africa. In fact, much better preserved than any continent in the universe. But why is the branding and the image of the continent is negative? What can we do to make it positive? It's unfair when an incident, a small incident happens, blown out of proportion, and then brand the whole continent to be the image of that incident. And we have seen the Ebola disease. All of us in Africa suffered because we were branded as one country. Well, we are 54 countries in the continent of Africa.
To counter these challenges, CS Balala stated that there are myriad of things that need to be improved on the continent, key among them being security.
Number one is security. And that security, I can assure you, it is more perceived to be bad security than real in Africa. Because if it was bad security, we would not have existed as the people in the continent of Africa. That's why security is important. Our government are investing heavily, and I can assure you that Africa is safer than most of other places in the world.
He further noted that as much as the continent has a wide variety of products to offer in the tourism sector, the continent is yet to master the art of properly packaging its product to compete competitively in the global markets.
Number two is the product. I believe we have better products in the continent of Africa, from the beaches of Gambia, from the delta of Okavango in Botswana, from the pyramids of Egypt, from the beautiful city of Marrakesh in Morocco, from the safaris of Masai Mara and the migration of the wildebeest, from the Great Lakes of Uganda and the gorillas in Zimbabwe, in Rwanda. All that, the Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, all that we have in the continent of Africa. But we have not packaged it well, and it has not been appreciated well.
While Africa solely depends on foreign continents as the majority of tourists, the CS insisted that it's time that Africa capitalizes on domestic tourism by increasing accessibility and affordability of traveling across the continent.
Come to the continent of Africa, but also intra-Africa travel is crucial. We cannot continue making it very expensive to travel among neighbors, to be more expensive than to travel overseas to other continents. That's an agenda we need to take it seriously, because without accessibility, without affordability to travel, we will not increase the numbers that we are targeting today.
With the Africa Tourism Organization now formed, it is the hope of relevant stakeholders that the growth curve of the sector will have a positive trajectory and in the future become one of the biggest source of revenue for respective African governments. Reporting for BrandPlus TV, I am Karari John Wambugu.